Hiya! Hello, world. It's Rome Madison, coach and mentor to everyday superstars. And welcome to the Superstar Summit. It's June edition. And man, I got a guy who is brilliant in mind, brilliant in spirit, and he's doing a lot of brilliant things. And it was very cool of him to agree to come on the Superstar Summit and share his road to success as an entrepreneur and some of the things that he's been doing to be successful in his business and how he's growing. For those of you who have tuned in before, who've watched this via social media on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, thank you for tuning in. For those of you who are on Google+, thank you for joining. Send us messages, send us tweets of questions that you want, or as things resonate with you, share them with the universe. This is the Superstar Summit, my monthly teleseminar. It used to be teleseminar, now it's a webinar, technically a Google+ Hangout. So thank you. We love people who tune in for video, but the goal of the Superstar Summit is I bring experts, I bring authors to you who have information, empowering information that can expand your vision of how you see yourself, that can expand what's possible for you in your life. And today I have a man who is going to do just that for you, entrepreneurial-minded folks, those of you who already have businesses, who are in the middle of building a business and you're looking of ways to expand your ideas, expand your influence out there. I've got a gentleman who can help you do just that. His name is Michael Bloomberg. I know you've heard of him. No, he's not the mayor of New York, but they do call him the mayor. And it is rare that you find a guy who says that he loves what he does. And Michael Bloomberg says he loves what he does. And how can you not love what you do when your job or your business is the business of love? Michael Bloomberg is known as the Romance CEO. You can tune into his website. Don't click this video off, open another tab, and go to the romanceceo.com. He started a business called an exclusive engagement on a hunch, he says. And that business is the world's first marriage proposal consulting company. I know, right? An idea. That's what we're talking about today. For those of you who are entrepreneurial spirits, business-minded, we're different folks. We're just different people. And I know that you've had an idea once upon a time that you thought to yourself first and said, that's kind of crazy. And then you shared it with someone. Maybe it was somebody you really trust. Maybe it's somebody that you know that's in your corner. And they confirmed that your idea was sure enough crazy. Well, there are millions of people out there in the world with these crazy ideas. And the difference between them and those like Michael Bloomberg, the Romance CEO, who have been successful, who've built billion-dollar, million-dollar businesses with their crazy ideas, is they took action on it and you didn't. But we want to empower you today with some information, some knowledge for you to build your business on, some wisdom for your mind and motivation for that behind, as I always say. But Michael is going to share some tools and tips for entrepreneurs to be empowered to take action on that crazy idea. And it doesn't matter. We're going to have lessons from the Romance CEO, no matter how crazy that idea is, for you to realize your crazy idea can make you crazy rich. Please welcome to the Superstar Summit, the Romance CEO, Michael Bloomberg.
Thank you, Rome. Rome, I do want to say, though, between that intro and your energy and Muhammad Ali behind you, I feel like I want to do push-ups or something right now.
That's good. That's good. Well, hopefully we'll get some entrepreneurs out there with that much energy and get them in the spirit to take action on their goals and dreams. So, Michael, thank you for hanging out with us. We met at the North Texas National Speakers Association. My brother in arms. He's done some outstanding things. Such an inspiring guy for me. And asked him to come on the Superstar Summit to share with you guys, just to feed you and pour into you. And he so graciously accepted. So first of all, before we go anything, I just want to thank you for your time and for coming on and sharing with the world.
Thank you, Rome. I appreciate the invitation, and I'm glad we got to connect. I'm glad we're connecting here, and hopefully we'll be able to help some people.
Absolutely. So first, tell us, for those of you who have already went to his website, you can Google Michael Bloomberg, Romance CEO. One of the people that comes up is Mayor of New York, but the other is Michael. Tell us how you kind of thought this idea through to create the world's first marriage proposal engagement company.
Sure. So it starts about 6 years prior to actually starting it. What happened was a friend of mine from college and I had kind of gone separate ways. And after about 4 years, he called me and he said, we need to get together. And I said, yes. And then we got together. And one of the first things he said is, I think I found her and I think I'm going to ask her to marry me. And I said, how are you going to ask? And he said, like most men, I have no clue. So that night, instead of catching up, we planned his proposal. And then I went home that night and it was just like Rome. It was just like a little spark. And I thought to myself, how fun would this be to do for a living? But with high profile clients and all over the globe. And man, I was just thinking big. And then I went to my office the next morning and I turned on my computer and all I could think about was, man, it'd be cool to plan marriage proposals. And I researched it and no one was doing it. And so like many people, you have an idea. And as you said in your intro, you don't do much with it. And then it took me 6 years and a lot of burned out, but the idea never went away. In fact, the idea just kept getting stronger and stronger, and like they say, it starts as a whisper and then it kind of hits you over the head and then it becomes like a mallet that just keeps pounding on you. And so basically I ended up with a company. I was able to, I call it my soccer mom phase. The last 3 months of '04, I did nothing but work out and volunteer. And in '05, January of '05, I started this company and I couldn't not do it. And it was this small company called An Exclusive Engagement. And seriously, Rome, I thought that I would just plan marriage proposals. Maybe I'd get a little press. Maybe it would just happen in Fort Worth or Dallas. And then the rest, as they say, is history. We have a lot of gaps to fill in, but I'll let you ask those questions. So that's how it started.
Very cool. One of the things that I talk about when we're talking about entrepreneurial groups is I always tell them there is a trigger in life. There is something that has happened in our past that we can reflect back on. Not necessarily the thing that we were doing, but the moment and the feeling of passion that it came with it. Mm-hmm. And I always ask people to reflect back when you've had those moments of high passion. And you say you started, this was a passion for you. Once you did it, it was this burning desire in your spirit. But can you think back to a time where you experienced this type of feeling in your life? I mean, what are the earliest memories that you have of kind of planning a special event for friends or family members?
I was always what they call the go-to guy in my circle, whether it be a first date or an anniversary or a birthday. People would come to me and, hey, what do I wear? Where should I take her? And then, or relationship advice. But actually the story goes back a little further in that about middle school when people kind of start dating, and I happened to be kind of a chubby early teen. So instead of dating the girls, they would come to me with their relationship problems. So that's what I call kind of my PhD in learning about women a little bit, was when they weren't interested in me, but I heard a lot about their problems. And so that was my early taste of what it was like to be on the other end.
Fantastic. Look, I'm sure there's a lot of guys that have been in that position who take that opportunity to learn, right, from the other side. Do you recall, like, a certain rush or a certain passion for it to, how am I going to top myself the next time?
Top myself the next time.
Well, when you're working with someone, back then when people would come to you and, mm-hmm. and talk about, ideas to celebrate something or ideas to surprise someone, how did you deal with that pressure to excel? Or was there pressure?
I didn't view it as pressure. I feel like everyone's given a gift, and I felt like this is like breathing for me. And I think that's why in my business, Everyone is so different and so unique, but I don't feel any pressure because I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And much like the proposal, it's all about who's being asked and very little to do with who's doing the asking. So I think one of the things that I learned early on was each one was so different. It wasn't about topping it, and it wasn't about me. I took myself out of the equation. It was about what this other person wanted to do for someone else. So it was like starting over each time.
Oh, absolutely. I've read John H. Johnson wrote a book about his life. He's the great publisher in Chicago of Ebony Magazine, Jet Magazine. He said the key to starting a successful business is finding a need and then filling it. And so that's essentially what you're doing every time you're working with a new client is, as you said, learning what that other person wants, learning what that other person likes. And that is a key to being a successful entrepreneur, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. And particularly with proposals, I think one of the situations is many times, and I say men to women for this example, obviously there's other kinds of relationships, but I think one of the things that happens is when we have to make a decision, much like entrepreneurs, we often don't take action because we're so close to the situation. We may know what we want to. And I think there's a real correlation to proposals to entrepreneurs is that people seek me out for my help because I'm a neutral party and I don't really have a dog in the fight, as they say. And many times it's their first shot or the only shot that they have. And so I think to tie that back into entrepreneurial is people often don't make that leap because they're so close to the situation.
Mm. Mm. A lot of times, and what we talk about here on the Superstar Summit is moving past that fear, putting an end to procrastination, create the successful habits that will cause you just to do the work that needs to be done systematically. And those things speaks right to the situation of being an entrepreneur and taking action on those ideas. It reminds me of kind of what you said. You started your business on a hunch, right? How can we as entrepreneurs really learn to trust our gut? And is that important when it comes to being an entrepreneur and starting and running a successful business?
I think there's to answer your question, yes. I think that a lot of people often in hindsight wish they had done something or wish they had seen the red flags or wish they had known better. And then they saw the flags, but they just ignored them. We see it in personal relationships. We see it in business. But I think that with entrepreneurs, there's only so much due diligence that you can do. And then you just have to leap. Because you never want to, there's always going to be regret if you don't. And for me, it was, I think 6 years was long enough for it to be screaming at me that I knew I had to at least try.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. We're talking with Michael Bloomberg, not the mayor, but the Romance CEO of the romanceceo.com, owner of the world's first marriage proposal consulting company. You can Google him. You can find him in the Twitter sphere give him your Twitter handle. I don't want to mispronounce it.
At the Romance CEO.
At the Romance CEO. And we're talking to those business-minded folks out there, those entrepreneurs, how you taking action on your idea, no matter how far-fetched or ridiculous you think it may be, take action on it because your ridiculous idea can make you ridiculously rich. And Michael has taken action. Not that Michael's idea was ridiculous. It has been a phenomenon. Matter of fact, Michael has been on NBC. You've been on CNN.com. The New York Times has written about you. What has it been like with the attention and the PR and people seeking you out? How has that lifted your business?
Well, I think it's huge. Anytime anybody wants to talk about you, I think it's fascinating. I think the naivete when I first started the company was I had no clue about media or PR or the power that it has. I definitely recommend any entrepreneur definitely learn it, seek it. I think it's something that people can do on their own. I think that I think it's one of those things that is so important, but also I realize that you need testimonials, you need companies or individuals that are willing to go on air. So for me, you know, Rome, it's a little bit different than a lot of people, in that a lot of my clients don't claim that they used me. So they take credit for it, and that's fine. It works both ways. Sometimes they want me to, you know, meet her afterwards, and sometimes I never talk to them again, because, and that's, you know, and it's a unique service in that industry, or in that aspect. So it's definitely, so for me, I need people that not only are willing to give testimonials, I need people that are camera friendly or camera ready too. So you talk about a niche. Finding testimonials is kind of niche with a niche. But back to the entrepreneurials, is I think it's huge that people learn media, learn PR, but really, much like the proposal, they have to take themselves out of the equation. When you start pitching your company, they don't want that. They want the emotion behind it, or they want a life story, or what makes it unique. I mean, we could talk for an hour, and maybe we come back and we talk just about how to do your own PR, or what it takes to do PR in media, because I think it is such a huge, crucial piece. But you can really mess it up if you don't know what you're doing. But it's been huge for me as far as being able to get the word out, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah, and that I never thought about that. That many of your clients don't want people to know that, you know, they work with you. Michael, you're the real life Hitch.
I am, but Rome, I work with people that are already spoken for. Hitch had to talk, you know, got them to sway them. So I don't have that tough a job.
Hey man, you're as close as they come, you know. And to your point, PR is the absolute best marketing that money cannot buy. So for those entrepreneurs out there who want to become, you know, more PR savvy, how do they position themselves to be someone that media comes after?
Sure. Well, for me, I was lucky in a sense that I had a unique company and it told a great story. I mean, there was many stories on many different levels. I also didn't have, the internet wasn't that strong before. There was no Twitter, there was no Facebook when I started my company.
Imagine that.
I know. So now I get, if I want to get to an editor, or I want to get to a writer, or I want to, we know how to use Twitter, or we should know how to use Twitter, and we follow them and we engage them and we don't sell them. And so it's easier to have access to that. But back then it was just literally, it was a little bit different. But now there's really no reason that people shouldn't be having some media or some PR. It's too easy not to right now. Yeah.
So you started your company, took action on your idea, and you got great PR. And word of mouth obviously is the best advertising. And of course, there's PR. But eventually, you grow your business, and now you actually speak at colleges and growing your speaking brand. Tell us a little bit about how you kind of grew into the speaking realm and what you're asked to go speak about.
Okay. So I was an organizational communication major. So it was basically a business and professional communication major, not because I wanted to do anything with it. It's kind of like intuition. I just thought I enjoy speaking. Let me major in this didn't know what else I wanted to do. So I had that behind me, which really in hindsight was huge. When I started my company and I started getting the media and PR, and you talk about one of the residuals of press, is people would read about it, and let's say that they saw where I graduated college and it was mentioned, that shows up in their alerts, and then they would contact me and say, hey, you got to come talk to our students. So I said, what do you want to talk about? What do you want me to talk about? They said, talk about the questions you're asking tonight. People just were fascinated about the entrepreneurial piece for college students and the business within itself. And so Rome, for about 10 years, well, up until last year, I call it a big mic show. I just talked about me and I talked about my business. And then last year I decided, I was looking at where the brand was growing, and I realized that I love the speaking piece of it, but it always found me. And so I wanted to learn the speaking business, and I wanted to learn the back end of it and what people were doing. And that's when, like we are brothers, joined the North Texas chapter of the National Speaker Association, and I've been in there a little over a year. And Now there's much more of a message and better on stage, back of the room, just learning the whole business piece of it. But as you well know, it's a like PR and like press, it is a whole other piece to the business. I highly recommend that entrepreneurs, especially people that are in a niche, get really comfortable speaking, because it's going to find you. If you're doing something that no one else is doing, or you're the best at what you do, or let's say you're both of those things, you will get asked to speak, and sooner rather than later.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that speaking is the fastest way, the absolute fastest way to build your brand outside of fantastic PR. But speaking, even if you have a blog, even if you are published or you have a book, speaking is the fastest way to increase the perceived value of what you do. Go find an audience and speak. Even that lends to other ideas. As you said, once you learn the speaking aspect of it, and you do become an author or an authority figure through PR, that does open, quite a door. But you can't be a generalist. Your niche, my goodness, your niche is so incredible, to do the research, and nobody was in that space. Did you instinctively create the niche? Or, like you said, you had a desire for it anyway, but how important is it for entrepreneurs out there who have an idea or a business idea? How important is it to either identify or further define their business niche?
This is such a tough question, because I'm in a serious, unique niche, but in understanding spaces, it's hard, particularly when you first begin. And so I'm sure there's people watching that they want to be everything to everyone. And honestly, not long after starting my company, people would read about me and say, "Hey, what about the already spoken for? And, will you do anniversaries? Will you do birthdays? Will you, I was in a meeting the other day and they asked about bachelorette was it something about bachelorette parties?" And so, and I said, I love to go down a lane that no one else has gone down, but once I'm in that lane, I know to stay in that lane.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it's very important to differentiate yourself. I always tell people, no matter what business idea you have, don't just discourage yourself into taking action, because you can get in your car and drive a mile. Chances are you'll see 3 hamburger places, McDonald's, Burger King, and whoever else. And then none of them are going out of business. They're all selling burgers.
Absolutely. And there's plenty of people that have followed me doing what I do. I think we all like to think that we're the best at what we do. So it doesn't dissuade me. And then I think we're more entrepreneurs and we're creatives. And I think those often go hand in hand. We don't come up with one idea and then stop. We are idea people. And I think that's, back to your original question about intuition and starting, is I think with entrepreneurial and having that creativity, I think we often get perfection paralysis. You were just talking about not taking that leap. And I think that we have so many ideas sometimes, or we love it so much and we don't just stick with one, that it often paralyzes us before we start. And so you nodded to it earlier about fighting through that fear. I don't remember the exact terminology that you used about pushing through the fear.
Yeah, absolutely. When I got started and I was developing, my speaking brand and my programs, my speaking mentor, Del Toro McNeil, shouts out to Del Toro, by the way, who is faculty for the Power Networking Conference here in Dallas this week, and just gave the keynote to the $1 Million Roundtable. So,
oh, wow.
So major accomplishment. Big shouts. Love you, Del. But he told me a few years ago something that I'll never forget, and I share this with people, because I was suffering from perfection paralysis in trying to create my brand, my tools, my products, my book. He said, look, done is better than perfect any day of the week. Because when it's done, then you have a chance to get feedback. Then you can see your errors, their imperfections, and then get a chance to improve upon those. But if you never take that step, if you never take action, if you never put it out there, it's never going to be perfect, and you'll never ever get that thing out there. You'll never start the business or create the product.
What great advice. And can I piggyback on that?
Absolutely.
So the other thing is that not only is perfect, never going to be perfect, especially nowadays with social media and the changes and us being creatives, 6 months or a year from now, it's not going to look like it is today.
Exactly.
So you might as well, like you said, get it done, because done's going to be different in 6 months anyway.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are on with the Romance CEO, Michael Bloomberg, the business owner of the world's first marriage proposal consulting firm, an exclusive engagement. And he's talking to us as entrepreneurs, sharing tips, secrets, his perspective, his journey to being a global media brand and building his speaker brand. And we're talking about how your ridiculous ideas that people have told you that are ridiculous, those crazy ideas that are swirling around in your head, that you know it's a good idea. You know you can make something happen with that idea, but you never took action. You've never capitalized on it. And we're talking about how that idea can make you a serious load of money as an entrepreneur, Michael Bloomberg. Now, we've been talking about entrepreneurs, your journey, the importance of finding a niche. But, okay, you got this idea. Somebody's out there and, we've hit a heartstring. We're with them. Mm-hmm. What's the first thing that they should do to get that thing out of their head and take steps to make it a reality?
Well, I think, action. I think don't quit your day job.
Yeah.
I think start researching, but don't research it too much. It depends on how long it's been going on. Like I said, I think 6 years was way too long for me to start, but it was the right time. And that brings up another point, is that I don't think, no matter the age, I don't think it's too late. People often have that dialogue with themselves or that mindset. It's never too late to go ahead and start something, but be smart about it. I mean, obviously, if you have I call them real jobs, if you have a 9 to 5 or you have to go into an office, you can start this on the side, put your feelers out, talk to people. I still do this as I'm moving forward with new products, new workshops, new everything, new directions. Go after you people that you think will be your biggest critics and shoot holes. You don't want yes people around you, because that is the best feedback that you're going to get. Also, if you get great feedback from them, then you're really hitting on something.
Wow, yeah, you ain't kidding. Jump out there. Let people chew it up. Let them kick it around, and see how you feel afterwards. And I'm a true believer in that. You said something that I don't want to step on. That's very, very important for my audience out there. And what I call them are salaried entrepreneurs. Those folks who have a full-time job, work on the job full-time. And as Jim Rohn used to tell the story, you work on your job full-time and you work on your fortune part-time. If you look over the course of a week, folks, how much time are you spending watching television? How much time are you spending driving in your car listening to a radio station that's not feeding you, not feeding your courage, not feeding your intelligence, it's not feeding your motivation or your vision? How much dead time are we having out there where we're not feeding that vision, that idea, to allow it to grow, to allow it to sprout wings and fly? I mean, you hit on a great point, and let's talk about how you can, work on your job full time and work on your passion part time. That's a big key. What advice do you have for them out there, for those who are really working hard trying to make it happen?
Well, it depends on what they want to do, but I mean, you can wake up an hour earlier, and if that's time when you need to write, or you need to blog, or you need to research, really what it amounts to is how bad do you want it?
Absolutely.
If you want it, you'll do it. If you don't want it, then you'll wish you had. It sounds simple, but
if it was simple, everybody would do it.
Yep. My brother was a personal trainer, and he passed away a few years ago. And not to bring the show down, but he used to say, people would come in and like, I didn't lose any weight, and well, I wasn't great on my diet, and And he would say, you know, if it was easy, everybody would look great.
Absolutely.
It takes work.
It takes work. You know, I'll take a moment there to plug my blog. My last blog, if you're on LinkedIn, connect with me on LinkedIn. Look up Rome Madison, the Superstar Academy. My latest blog right there on LinkedIn and on Tumblr and on Twitter. If you haven't followed me on Twitter, Google Rome Madison or at romemadison.com. You can hit all my social media links there. But my latest blog is How Bad Do You Want It? And that's what essentially comes down to for those salaried entrepreneurs out there. I'll quote Les Brown. If you do what is easy, your life will be hard. But if you do what is hard, then that's the best chance of your life being easy. Every business idea is front loaded. Bad news for those people out there who don't have the drive and desire to make it happen. But it's all front loaded. Before people with ridiculous ideas made great millions with this idea, the things that people thought was ridiculous, they had to front load that effort. They had to write business plans. They had to journal. They had to write about it. They had to do interviews. They had to get that message out there. And as Michael was just saying, in the era of social media, you have so many free platforms to get your message and your brand out there. My goodness, wake up an hour early, go to bed an hour later, or just use the time that you have every day more wisely. And one of the quotes that I recently read, and I have up on my board over on this side of my office that you can't see, is that learn to master your time or time will be your master. Learn to master your time or time will be your master. We're talking with Michael Bloomberg, the CEO of an exclusive engagement. And I'm going to share his website so you guys can see. Look at that handsome fella right there. The romanceceo.com. You can sign up for his free ebook, 101 Romance Tips That Rock. He's sharing with us his journey from creating his company, an exclusive engagement. Follow him on Twitter and social media. You'll see all those links there on his website. Now, we're talking about how you guys out there can make that move part-time, how you can start on your business using the time that you have to do the things you need to do to be successful. It's front-loaded, but think about it like this. A year from now, you'd wish you started today. So we're giving you that information here on the Superstar Summit. Please follow me on Twitter at Rome Madison and get updates. And as we come monthly with this webinar, we're talking about how your ridiculous idea can make you ridiculously rich. And we're talking about the first things you should do to make that idea a reality. Michael, how important is it? Are you a writer or a journaler? Did you write these ideas out on paper?
I did. I would write these ideas, and I would write. I not only would I write them, I saw myself doing it. I figured I didn't know exactly who the client was, but not only was it in my head, it was in my heart. I mean, I saw myself doing it. I think that's another huge thing, kind of tied into your mindset, obviously, but intuition as well. Is you'll feel what it feels like to be doing it before you've even done it.
Wow.
You probably have experiences where you're working with people or you're seeing yourself speaking, and you saw it. You saw it happening before it happened.
Yeah, now that's powerful. I keep referring back to my vlog. Check me out, folks. Check me out on LinkedIn. Check me out on Tumblr, on my website, romemadison.com, because the things that I'm putting out is exactly what Michael is speaking to. Essentially he's hitting on desire, your desire. And the first step that I talk about in my blog is to keep your vision in focus. A lot of times when we don't take action on things, that thought to do something significant never goes away. As Michael Bloomberg just shared, 6 years before he took the great leap into his entrepreneurial business and starting up his business. 6 years. So it speaks to the fact that vision doesn't really go away. You have to replace it with something else. So that desire to do that significant idea, that dream that is manifested in you, it's still there. It's still there, and it eats at you if you think about it. And we end up doing what Tony Robbins says: we move away from pain, right? Because we haven't taken action, and we have certain guilt feelings. We have certain things. But no matter what that idea is, revisit it. The first step in making anything real is putting it on paper. That's our power of creation, to write something into existence. That way that vision expands. It exists now. As long as it stays in your mind and your spirit, it's always going to be just right there. So the number one thing is keep your vision in focus. The second thing I want to tell you is to grind when nobody else is grinding. Now, as entrepreneurs, we know that, look, there is no off season, right? We're going to grind. It's going down, right? We're going to make it happen. So you got to take advantage of whatever time you have to make that vision a reality. And the third thing is just don't stop. No matter what your vision is, no matter how much time it takes, what is it to you if you don't do it tomorrow? Just do something every day that moves you in that direction, and eventually you'll get there. Michael, when we're talking about entrepreneurs and you have been successful in your business, you're connected to a number of other great entrepreneurs. What are three traits that you could share with folks out there that in your mind makes a successful entrepreneur?
Sure. Well, one, and because I speak from a niche point of view, I would say have a great idea. That's not always the case. You could, you might build a better mousetrap, but in my case, it was just, I didn't know at the time it was a great idea, but it was, that's what I heard. As far as the second thing is, no is not an option.
Yep. And
then you talked about that before, is don't stop. I talk about that in proposals, and when I speak, the first people, there's 5 tips to a successful proposal, and so I say no is not an option, and that is my job, his job, whoever's job is asking is to get a yes. And all it takes is one yes. So let's tie that back into entrepreneurs or the people that are watching and you said, don't stop. My second thing is no is not an option. It's just not an option to not do what we do. And Absolutely. Then the third thing, and this is something, Rome, that took me a long time. And it's because I didn't know how to ask. I didn't know how to receive help, but have mentors. I was not someone who was in organized sports, and I wasn't in the Greek system through college. So I kind of was a solo person, had friends, but it wasn't until I learned a lot of this on my own. And I think having mentors would take the learning curve off a lot of stuff. And I found that people generally want to help you succeed if you are kind about it, if you're serious about it, if you do the work, if you connect with the right people. But once I got into the speaking business and decided that I was going to make that my business, the right people found me, and I found the right people, and that is catapulted, I think, as far as my success is on that side of the business, was finding mentors.
Absolutely. I was just looking, if you look at Michael's website, I know you've gone there, the romanceceo.com, and you can look, and like you said, you have degrees in communication, right? And it's essentially what you help people do is communicate an idea, a compelling proposal, if you will. But you just spoke to something, because there's folks out there that, they're not college graduates, but they still have a burning desire to do something. They still have that great idea. They don't have, they're not connected to Oprah. They're not connected to anybody who's really done anything that's out of the box. What can we tell them? What can you tell them? And it stems from that idea of having mentors, but what else can you share with them to help make their dreams happen?
Sure. And this is really the first time you and I have had to really chat. And so what I'm learning about you and I is that we share a lot of kismet as far as mindset goes. So I think basically is don't tell yourself a story that you have to have that degree, or that the degree is going to make a difference. We look at some serious, and you talk about social media, but look at tech companies now and people not finishing degrees. I'm not encouraging people to not go to school. For me, it was what worked. But I think that we need to, a lot of people in all aspects, but particularly in this one as well, is, if you never went back to college and it's not something that you wanted to, or you never started college, but you have this idea, that's your own story about why it won't work. So get out of, I often, you probably said the same thing, is one of our biggest mistakes, particularly for entrepreneurs, is getting out of our own way. And one of that thing is internal dialogue.
Oh boy, self-talk. It doesn't matter what other people say to you about how crazy your idea is. It doesn't matter what your close friends and family say. And that's kind of a hard one to move past, because we tend to become what the people closest to us think about us. But the most important person that it matters what you say is you. As long as you are not calling yourself crazy, and trust me, you're an entrepreneur, there's nothing wrong with you. We have crazy ideas, and we know a slew of crazy people who've taken action on crazy ideas through the National Speakers Association and other networks. But these crazy folks step out and take action on those dreams, and they live a fulfilling life serving people who need exactly what you have. There's somebody out there that's waiting on you to be a part of their testimony. So I encourage you to go out and take action on that idea, because it is truly about serving people, Michael. And you talk about gratitude. How big of a factor, motivating factor, is that for you in your business?
It's everything. I am grateful for my clients. I am humbled by my clients that they allow me to be a part of something. I am humbled and I am grateful by the mentors and the people that have taken the time to show me the ropes and take the learning curve off. I can't not be grateful. And the interesting thing, and back to mindset, is that when we are grateful, when we have gratitude, whatever you believe in, let's say it's the universe, can't help but give you more to be grateful for.
Absolutely.
Now, if you're not grateful, obviously it's mindset. So what every people word it different ways, but what you focus on, you get. And so if you are focused on gratitude and it's come from a sincere place and you truly are, more will show up in your life to be grateful for.
That is key for someone out there right now, because what happens with entrepreneurs many times is you get excited and you take action on that idea, and 6 months, a year, 2 years into it, you start to hit that time of drought. What advice do you have for those entrepreneurs who have taken action and maybe they're stuck right now?
Sure. Well, I think it's be honest with yourself. Do you need to tweak? Do you need to change? Do you need another mentor? Now, back to when I was started, I didn't really have a lot of this opportunity, but there's no reason that people can't write an ebook or have vertical revenues like membership sites or e-products, or with how easy it is to videotape and then sell videos, or you can just put it up and then make a membership. You can sell your information. It also is a great way to get clients as well. As I'm preaching to the choir, but it is easy now to have vertical revenues. And I think that when you put all your eggs in one basket, it is, there are going to be times that are tough and drought. You can't just wait. And so I think that's the other thing about coming up with new products and having, you said about, the people closest to you, masterminding, have people that are doing it. Don't be the smartest person in the room. Have people around you that are smarter, because they're going to have ideas, or you're going to be able to see what they do. It may be ideas that you and I haven't even thought of yet, and it's something that's specific in their space. But I think don't put all your eggs in one basket. And I think there's so many opportunities, and it's so easy and so cost effective now to have other vertical revenue streams.
Absolutely. And speaking of that, you started your business, the world's first and only at the time marriage proposal consulting firm. That led to speaking opportunities in colleges, talking about entrepreneurialism. We're talking about to entrepreneurs today about taking action on that idea that they have. And exactly what you were talking about, continuing to develop and grow the brand. You've grown your brand in an incredible direction that it really does take an entrepreneurial mindset to continue to better your best and put things out there. Tell us about what you're doing with corporations these days.
Okay, so because I don't know any better, I think that's a naivete sometimes is a good thing. Years ago, Rome, I had this idea because I started seeing all these benefits that my clients were sharing with me. It might have been in the beginning when I was interviewing them and they were talking about why they wanted to get engaged, and then afterwards about what the experience was like. And as I was learning these different takeaways, if you will, I thought to myself, teams could sure benefit from this. The other thing too is that in benchmarking and learning from other speakers and other trainers and other workshops, people want different. They don't want something that's been done before, but they want memorable and they want effective. And so as I sat on this idea, I didn't know what it would look like, but again, it didn't go away. I wrote it down and I saw it, okay, like a hermit crab that doesn't need a lot of attention. I just kind of, fed it every once in a while. I picked it up and I figured it would just come to me if it was supposed to be. And it just came in strong and I got clarity and I went to the people that I thought would be my biggest critics and shoot it down. And I got some huge, probably my biggest cheerleaders were those people. And so again, as soon as I got that, I started benchmarking and I realized what was out there, what are people doing. So I created a team building based on this proposal business that I do. And it's based on my concept of planning proposals. The other thing that I heard is that a lot of corporations, a lot of associations, a lot of teams are talking about keeping their employees, keeping their teams engaged with each other, engaged with the company, engaged with the customers. And I didn't know a better name than what I do and how to get them engaged. And so the title is not very creatively called Get Engaged Team Building. I didn't have to go far for that. The cool thing is that I call it experiential because it brings people into what I've been asked about for 10 years now. It also includes two things that I think are helpful in team building and remembering the experience and takeaways, which is emotion. It evokes emotion and it involves empathy. And I launched this in the last month and I have gotten great feedback and I've got them booked and I'm doing it. And it is, I am still as passionate about when I get a new client and people say, does it ever get old? And I say no. But I am as passionate or more about this because I'll be reaching so many other people. I'm also a trained facilitator, so I'll be able to tie my facilitation skills with a larger number of people, and I'll get to bring people into my world, and so they can experience what it's like, and then they take away with something. And so, so that's it. I'm super excited about it.
When you have creative people, and there's a common theme through what Michael Bloomberg has been sharing with us here on the Superstar Summit, mentors are the shortcut to success. You can go out and slop it up and knock yourself around and you'll get a lot smarter over a period of time, or you can invest in finding mentors, invest in connecting with serious people. Who are kind of some of the people who inspired you since you've been in business?
Oh man, I just there are some speakers that I look up to. I think that is a great question. There's so many that I'm a huge volunteer. And usually, and this is going to be I don't know if this is a great answer because I think people can rattle off names and they may know them, may not know them. I'm inspired by my clients. I'm inspired by the people that I get to volunteer with, people that have nothing, people that those are the people that tug at my heartstrings.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll read things and I get stuff from people. Do I put them on pedestals? No, but am I grateful for it? Absolutely. But I am inspired by transparency and honesty, and I am inspired by everyday people.
Yeah.
Awful answer, but the truth.
No, I totally understand. You know, when you're in the business of love, you have to be encouraged by the courage of your clients.
Yes, particularly, and it's, you know, sometimes, and talk about people not telling someone, sometimes it's professional athletes, sometimes it's CEO of companies. It's often those, and, you know, like I said, I have to sign non-disclosures, but these are people that make decisions every day in their life and they control everything, and they are taking ego out of it, but they're putting someone else first. They're being of service because they want to do it right. And so that is inspiring to me, as these people who could do it on their own, but realize they need help. And so I think it's pretty cool. And it's a great lesson for entrepreneurs that even people that we deem or view as having it all or knowing all the answers, they still reach out to people like you who are coaches. They know, we had a speaker not long ago that came to the National Speakers Association, Alvin Law out of Canada. And he said that he probably spends $25,000 a year on self-improvement. Wow. And this is a guy that can stay as booked as he wants. But you've probably seen that in your circle as well, as the greats are still seeking out and seeking help and looking for answers and trying to improve every day.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, always invest in yourself. You know, what is it? Information costs, but it pays for itself. That is absolutely true. But let me tell you something. Information is as inexpensive as it ever has been, because you have people like Michael Bloomberg who come on the Superstar Summit and pour information out to entrepreneurs like yourself who are trying to build businesses, who are trying to get started and take action on those crazy ideas. And if you do it, trust me, you'll be all the better for it, because there is someone out there who needs exactly what you have. Michael, I tell you, I'm a quote guy, and before we bring this show to an end, the quote on your website was very, very, very powerful. We're talking about who inspires us, and I'll read this. It says, "Life begins at the end of your comfort zone." That's simple and powerful. How does that keep you motivated?
Well, I mean, everything I do is out of my comfort zone. I started this business out of my comfort zone. If you want to ask somebody out for the first time, it's out of your comfort zone. I think we're faced with comfort. We just get so comfortable. This team building it's a new, we were talking a little bit before, it's a new audience. It's like a new business. And just because I did one doesn't necessarily mean that another one is going to be successful. Growth happens outside of our comfort zone.
Absolutely. You know, that's a perfect segue to give you guys a charge out there, because you can't stay in your box if you're an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur, by very definition, is something you have to do outside of your comfort zone. So I know you guys are out there that you've had that idea. I mean, for God's sakes, the pet rock made millions. All right. You know, there's a guy out there with $1 million homepage who sold bits and pieces of a homepage to different companies, corporations. They bought into this, to where he generated $1 million from that web page. My goodness, there's countless other ideas. Michael Bloomberg said, you know what? I can help people propose to their significant other, and I want to do this for a living. And years later, he's created a mega brand, speaking brand. He's going in and doing team building with corporations all around the concept of engagement. Folks, if Kim Kardashian and the Kardashians can be famous for nothing, your idea has merit. All you need to do is take action. My name is Ron Madison, coach and mentor to everyday superstars like yourself, encouraging you to break out of your shell, break out of your comfort zone, as Brian Tracy calls it, your danger zone, because that's where the growth occurs. Take action, believe in yourself, Move past your fear, put it into procrastination, and do it now. What's one thing you can do to take one step closer to your goal or your big dream? Just one thing a day will get you that much closer. And no matter what you do, just don't stop. If your idea stokes that passion inside of you, that's how you know it's right, that fire burning on the inside. And if you follow your heart and you follow that passion, trust me, you can never go wrong. For Michael Bloomberg, the Romance CEO, you can follow him on Twitter at the Romance CEO, and his website. Michael, what's your Facebook fan page so the folks out there can?
I believe it's the Romance CEO as well after Facebook.
Hey man, just go to his website. You'll find everything there, or you can just Google Michael Bloomberg, the Romance CEO. He's the mayor of love. Thank you for joining us. My name is Rome Madison. I got wisdom for your mind, motivation for that behind. Take action on those crazy ideas out there, folks, because your time is now. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Rome.